The European Dream, unity and mutual understanding among its people, a globally unique project for peace. Today, however, Europe seems under threat. Brexit, the refugee crisis, states burdened with debt, opaque trade agreements, resurgent nationalism, and a plethora of regulations that lead to oversimplification and uniformity. Are we still free as Europeans to determine our own destiny? What does freedom of choice mean in times of crisis, and what can we as citizens do to make the European dream a reality? These questions were the focus of discussion for the high-ranking political, business, cultural and society representatives who met in November 2016 at the Residential Palace in Brussels. This is where the conference Freedom of Choice Under Threat – What Can European Citizens Do? Took place. It was arranged by ELIANT, the European Alliance for Applied Anthroposophy. The discussions between the approximately 140 participants concerned the extent to which the freedom of choice of European citizens is being curtailed and how it might be addressed.
Well, I think the entire European project is under threat because we are, as President Juncker recently said, in an existential crisis. I see the biggest danger is that democracy itself is threatened.
The conference began with a welcoming address by Dr. Michaela Glöckler. She perceived the rising tide of nationalism as a threat to the European ideal of unity in diversity.
We have these beautiful concepts of the dignity of man and the human rights, but how to bring these concepts into the daily reality, in the educational system, in the medical system, in sustainable agriculture, in caring also for the animals, for their dignity, and so on. I think that is something the anthroposophic concepts can really help to find ways.
To meet these challenges, it is vital that children are brought up to become articulate and tolerant European citizens. Sophie Beernaerts, who is responsible for education and schooling within the EU Directorate for Education and Culture, could see that there is a great demand for advice of Waldorf education with its child-centered and social values-focused approach.
There is, I think, no freedom of choice without education. The European values of freedom, of diversity, should form the basis of education, and it's important to create learning environments which appeal directly to children and challenge their creativity. I know that's one also of your requests. I read your manifesto and fully agree with you that there is the need for this holistic view of education.
The various aspects of freedom of choice in Europe were discussed in detail by 7 working groups. The Agriculture Working Group took as its main themes the issues of land sharing, biodynamic agriculture and the saving of seeds. Instead of the exploitation of land by international corporations, more community buyouts, nature conservation and biodiversity initiatives are needed.
Land sharing is a phrase that has been coined to designate a number of initiatives emerging throughout Europe where we try to bring citizens and farmers in new partnerships models so that they can own and use their land in new ways that are not just self-centered but open up to local communities.
The working group Democracy and Civil Society regretted the fact that the European elite seems incapable of presenting its citizens with a vision for Europe.
I'm British and I followed the Brexit debate very closely, and that sort of nobody knew anything about Europe.
And younger people are completely disattached from any political topics, and I'm wondering how can we change that?
What we see today is the harvest of what we have said in the past. We can only overcome if we develop a strong concept or system or picture, image that we really want. And for this we need to continue this debate, which we have done today.
The human being is composed of soul, body and spirit. Studies confirm that in medicine, the holistic approach to the human being promotes health. The medicines and therapeutic protocols of conventional medicine are currently under review in Europe. In the working groups Integrative Medicine and Public Health Provision, participants concluded, amongst other things, that anthroposophical medicine must play an important role as an extension of conventional practice in making integrative medicine possible.
The leading question of co-creation could be, what do I need to know of you as a person to take the best care of you I can? So this is a different approach. So even in the way of identifying what is the problem, already there's a co-creative process.
Why are we not doing this in schools? Why is there no subject in school that's called health education that we do in in biology class, for example, where you learn about the body? Why do you not learn about health more?
The working group Training and Education took a closer look at the new skills agenda published by the European Commission in 2016. The group was particularly critical of the EU Commission's education policy. It appears to be primarily designed to meet the economic demands of the labor market. The well-being of children and their progress towards independent adulthood appears to be only a secondary concern. The workshop Citizens' Fundamental Rights, the EU Charter and its neglected aspects focused on how the Charter could be referred to with the objective of widening the freedom of choice.
Does the Charter of Fundamental Rights help ELIANT activists and others in their efforts for recognition of applied anthroposophy in the legal system of the EU and in EU policies? My conclusion, yes, there is a good chance to use the Charter of Fundamental Rights for their argument. This will be not only to the advantage of ELIANT, but also to the advantage of European citizens' freedom of choice in general.
How well are the human rights of people with special needs protected? The group working on this theme concluded that many improvements are needed.
People with special needs are a very diverse group of people, and they don't need all the same solutions. So it's important to have a wide variety of possible choices.
One of the highlights of the conference was the very engaging closing address given by Gerald Häfner. Häfner is a council member of Democracy International and served for many years as a member of the German and European parliaments.
Let's build the European Union on these proper human relations. And let's build it on the free individual, on the basis of I look in your eyes and I see what you need and what I can do for you. And you look in my eyes and you do something for me. This is where Europe starts.
The Chinese philosopher Lao Tse once said that even a 1,000-mile journey begins with the first step. The ELIANT conference is without doubt the first step towards achieving greater freedom of choice, more democracy, increased citizen engagement and more social justice across Europe.